Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what a weekend it has already been, and now we're starting out Monday morning. And yeah, I don't think you have to guess what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about notorious RGB, Ruth Bader, or BG, I guess, Bader Ginsburg, everything Supreme Court, Donald Trump, the Republicans, all of that. We got a little bit of all of it for you. We're going to start with bracing for a fight, so to speak. Washington, D.C. is bracing for a fight. The lines have been drawn already, and we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to give you a few examples of just how crazy the left has already gotten. And we're going to talk about Michael Moore and some of the things he had to say. And if we get a chance, we're going to talk about Queen Nancy Pelosi and some of the threats she's making. But before we get any further, I want to talk right quickly here about our sponsor. And man, do we need our sponsor and the products they have probably now more than ever. And that is Big Daddy Unlimited, otherwise known as BDU. We're in the Big Daddy Unlimited studios. Check out our show description, no matter where you're watching the video, whether it's live or taped later. Look at the description above the video of our show, and you will see a link to our sponsor. In this case, it's Big Daddy Unlimited, where you will get factory direct pricing on everything Second Amendment related, from guns and ammo delivered directly to your door to thousands of other items that are all tied into your Second Amendment rights. And if there's any right that we seem to be going to need more than ever, it is the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And Big Daddy Unlimited, and here at JMT, we're right in the middle of that. And if you listen to what the Democrats have been saying for months, and especially the last couple of days, they are literally saying that civil war is upon us. And I hope they're wrong, but in any event, Big Daddy Unlimited, check it out. All right, let's move along here. We're going to start with a New York Times article. Trump and Democrats brace for showdown over Supreme Court seat. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she passed away over the weekend. And, I want to say the same things that many people have said. I sympathize with her family. Apparently, she was surrounded by the people she loved the most, and I give her all due respect and prayers to her family and friends. That's it, and she deserves to be memorialized in whatever way the nation sees fit, and everything else. But the business of government goes on. I'm reminded right off the top of something Charles de Gaulle said shortly after World War II, when he decided he was no longer going to be president of France. He was asked, how can France go on without you? And he said something that is just absolutely factual. He said the graveyard is full of indispensable men. And that is very, very true, no matter which side of the aisle you're on. And you can make a case that Miss Ginsburg is indispensable, but life goes on. Life is for the living, and she's going to be given her just due. I think President Trump actually, and we're going to play a video, and you may or may not have seen this. This is a video because Donald Trump was giving a rally. He was about 10 minutes into his rally, speaking on stage in North Carolina, I do believe, when the news broke about Ms. Ginsburg. So he did not know of her death until after his event, basically an hour after the announcement was made. He was shouted at it from questions by reporters as he was literally walking to Air Force One, because I believe it was an airport rally. So check out, I want you to keep in mind, these are off the cuff remarks that Donald Trump is hearing for the first time about Ginsburg's death. And I want you to hear the remarks he made. Check it out.
I didn't know that. I just telling me that for the first time. She led an amazing life. What else can you say? She was an amazing woman. Whether you agree or not, she was an amazing woman who led an amazing life. saddened to hear that. I am saddened to hear that. Thank you very much.
Nominate someone before that.
And if you're wondering why that music was playing, Elton John in the background, it was because it was at the rally. And if you've ever been to a Trump rally, they play great music before and after the rally. So he was literally walking to Air Force One, had just left the stage and had not been told about this. And I think his remarks were from the heart. I think he absolutely agreed, and I agree with him as well. I don't agree with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but I agree that she was an amazing woman. She lived an incredible life, and now it is time to mourn her loss, without a doubt, and to give her due respect. But at the same time, we have the business of the country to take care of, and we are in some trying times. And so I absolutely believe that the president needs to do exactly what he appears to be doing, and the Democrats are basically threatening. Think about this, and we'll get into more details in a minute. The Democrats, if you watched any of the coverage on any of the news channels, doesn't really matter which one, the Democrats literally are threatening the nation that if Donald Trump and the Senate Republicans do their constitutional duty and right, obligation, I would say, that the nation is going to be at war. That is literally what the Democrats are saying. Let's get into this. President Trump and his adversaries mobilized on Sunday for an epic campaign season. It's the New York Times article. Showdown over the future of the Supreme Court, even as the nation prepared to honor the life of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg in an outdoor viewing to be held according to pandemic-era guidelines. So the details of her viewing are still coming in a bit sketchy. Keep in mind, and I'm pretty sure I'm right about this, if you actually go by Jewish tradition, which she is a practicing of the faith, that you're supposed to be buried pretty quickly after you're dead. Now, I know that I think it's Rosh Hashanah that started over the weekend, so there's some leeway there. And of course, her being who she was, but it's not like in some different religious ceremonies where the person is a week or 2 weeks later that they're buried or whatever. With is my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not saying I'm an expert in this, but according to the Jewish faith, you're supposed to be buried fairly quickly. So I think what they're going to do is have some kind of memorialization of her today and tomorrow, and then that'll probably be it. But I like how they say his adversaries, talking about Donald Trump, that his adversaries are mobilizing. As Donald Trump said, she was a great lady. If you watch the coverage of it in real time over the weekend, it was amazing to me that of all networks that kind of seem to try to put a little bit of politics aside and actually give the lady her just due, it was actually Fox News that went out of their way, it seemed like, to do that. The other networks, and I kept flipping back and forth between like CNN and MSNBC, they literally said, oh, she was a great lady. Oh, no, we got to go to war now to stop Trump. I mean, they went for it immediately. I'm going to play you a video right now. This is a video of a Saturday at Mitch McConnell's home in Louisville, Kentucky, literally just with less than 24 hours after Ms. Ginsburg died. The left was already marshaling protests outside of Mitch McConnell's home. Check it out. So that's good enough. What they're saying is vote him out. He's up for re-election. And the last poll I actually saw showed him up by like 12 points in Kentucky. So he probably has a pretty comfortable lead there. But you don't want to take anything for granted. But they're literally taking this Supreme Court death and now potential filling of the seat, which I think they should. And I'm going to make a good case for that in just a moment. They're literally not only taking it to the streets, but they're personalizing it and taking it to Mitch McConnell. We're going to talk about some other threats along the way, including Michael Moore and Nancy Pelosi. And I'm going to give you more in depth on Michael Moore in just a minute. But let me just say this. He did actually call for protest in front of every Republican senator's home across the United States immediately. And so that shows you what we're up against. Back to the article, the president's determination to confirm a replacement for Justice Ginsburg before the November 3rd election, which is like, 45 days, something like that. It's maybe 44. It's moving fast, that's for sure. Set lawmakers on a collision course with one another at a time when Congress already has major issues on its agenda, including spending bills. In other words, the government's going to run out of money if they don't do some kind of continuing resolution to keep the government open past next week, and a stalled coronavirus relief package to help millions of Americans left unemployed by the pandemic that has killed nearly 200,000 people in the United States. Collision course, they say, that they're headed for. Doesn't that pretty much sum up the Democratic Party, especially in Congress, response to President Trump's election, period? Not let alone re-election coming up. But haven't the Democrats essentially collided with President Trump every single juncture possible? They started impeachment proceedings literally against him before he was ever even sworn in, if you think about it. It's crazy. So this idea that they don't need to, that Trump doesn't need to appoint someone, and the Republicans have every right, and I would say obligation and duty, to confirm a justice before the election. And I say before the election. I'll get more into that in just a moment. It is payback. It's payback. Think about it. If they can impeach a president during an election year, as this meme shows, we can surely appoint a Supreme Court justice. Undaunted by the prospects of such a volatile fall, Mr. Trump prepared to announce a nominee as early as Tuesday in hopes of pressuring the Senate to ratify his choice before the voters. Now, I think that President Trump will announce his pick as soon as this 2-day, if it's Monday and Tuesday that she kind of lies in state in some form or fashion, I think he'll wait till Wednesday. But I think as soon as whatever celebration, mourning, however you want to put it, commemoration is over, I think President Trump will announce his pick immediately, and I absolutely think he should. It says here, give him a second term, and spoke multiple times with Senator Mitch McConnell, the majority leader. So President Trump, I'm sure he was on the phone with Mitch McConnell right after he got on Air Force One. And I like how they say here, that undaunted, in the top of this paragraph, undaunted by the prospects of such volatile fall. Undaunted, yes, absolutely. Undaunted. And President Trump should be undaunted. That is who this guy is. He has every right. As I said, they're trying to impeach him during election year. So if they can impeach the president, when I say tried, they did impeach President Trump during an election year. If they can do that, surely he can do his Supreme Court, his constitutional duty and appoint a justice, not a chief judge. We need a new chief justice, but that's another story. Even as a moderate Republican senator, and they're talking about Lisa Murkowski here, reaffirmed her opposition to such an accelerated timetable on Sunday. Lisa Murkowski, let me just tell you, there's this idea out there that they like Susan Collins, and there's other ones that are up for re-election. She's not up for re-election yet. I wish she was, but like Cory Gardner out in Colorado and some others, Joni Ernst in Iowa, that, they're close elections. Susan Collins, by every measure, is supposedly trailing and set up to potentially lose in Maine. I say don't worry about that at all. Don't worry about the Mitt Romneys of the world, the Murkowskis. Put them on the spot. Because let me just make her an example here. I think she's up for re-election in 2 years. Let's just assume, for the sake of conversation, you know what assuming does to you, that she votes against whoever President Trump nominates. And President Trump goes on maybe to lose the election. Maybe, maybe not. This lady here, if she does not vote to support whomever President Trump puts forward and comes out of the Judiciary Committee, then she needs to be defeated no matter what in 2 years in Alaska. And Alaskans need to let her know this immediately. I think she's subject to change her mind because assuming she wants to stay senator, because I don't see how in Alaska she gets reelected if she betrays the Republican Party and the people that put her in there. And then they say others like Senator Lamar Alexander of Tennessee fell in line and it appeared increasingly likely that Mr. Trump may get the votes to proceed, although there were a few holdouts still to be heard from. I guarantee you, Mitch McConnell, one thing about him, I'm not a big fan of Mitch McConnell. Those of you who watch the show know that. But I have to give credit where credit is due when it comes to marshaling votes for Supreme Court justices and the rest on the federal bench. He has done a terrific job. I want to just say it right off the bat here. But if in fact, here's the thing. If in fact there are people on the Republican side, the Senate, that may be waffling or may be leaning towards not supporting moving forward with the Supreme Court pick in an election year, that is all the more reason to have the vote. Expose the rhinos for who and what they are. Now, keep in mind, we got a tiebreaker vote in Mike Pence in the Senate. But a lot of people are focusing on Mitt Romney, and they're worried about Mitt Romney. You know, if you watch the show, first of all, where you been if you hadn't? Secondly, welcome, glad to have you here. That I am no fan of Mitt Romney whatsoever. And yes, he did vote to impeach the president, a stain on his record. However, I actually believe that Mitt Romney, there is a very good chance, better than 50-50, I'd say 70 at least percent chance that he will support whoever is picked for the Supreme Court during an election year. I really believe it for a couple of reasons. One, I do think he values his future in the Republican Party, whether he remains senator, and I think against all odds, and I don't think he has a shot, but in his mind, he probably thinks he has a shot to run for president again someday. If he does not vote to confirm a justice, and notice he hasn't said a word about this in a negative way, he's kept his powder dry, I think when it comes down to it, he's going to vote not because of anything to do with Donald Trump, but because of his own political future. I believe that Mitt Romney will absolutely do it. Susan Collins, let's get to her very quickly because she was a major force in the Kavanaugh ultimately confirmation, right? She gave a great speech. Susan Collins, by all accounts, is losing in Maine. Now, if she truly wants to win, she has one shot, in my opinion. And I'm not guaranteeing it that she will. It may cost her to a certain extent, but and that is to support the president's nominee. If she does not support the president's nominee, she has no chance of winning whatsoever. She may have a slim chance as it is, but she has no chance to win if she betrays her oath of office, basically. And I predict she will. I think there's wiggle room here, but Mitt Romney may end up being the key. And I actually believe, I have some faith in Mitt Romney only because he cares about himself, not because he cares about the American people, certainly Donald Trump. But Mr. Biden, the nominee of the Democratic Party, said in a speech in Philadelphia, he said, to jam this nomination through the Senate, it's not jamming, is just an exercise in raw political power. Let me say with you, sir, I may agree with you on that, but what is wrong with raw political power? That's why you have power to carry it out. Do you think, let me just ask you this, and you snowflakes can chime in as well. Chime in on Facebook and tell me where I'm wrong on this. You can do it on America's Voice News Network. We're on there every morning live at 8 o'clock. Howdy, how are you? Citizens for Trump, as well as many others. We're also, when I mention America's Voice News, which is the best place to watch all things Trump and also get the best news coverage you can get, especially rallies, those types of things. Download the free app on Apple of your iPhone or your Android. You can also go to the streaming service. We're on there. We're rebroadcast as a late night show right now on their streaming network, Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, Channel 219 Dish Network, and the Pluto streaming channel. We're on there. But raw power, ladies and gentlemen, I have no issue with that. So let me get back to this question I was going to ask you. And snowflakes, feel free to chime in. How long, let's say the roles are reversed and you had a Democratic president and a Democratic Senate. God help us if that comes true, but let's just say you had one right now, and we were in the same situation, and there was a question about the president being reelected. How long do you think it would take them to nominate, get somebody through Senate hearings, and appointed to the Supreme Court? How long? A week? I mean, 2 at the most. So there is no question the Democrats and Joe Biden would exercise raw power. I don't have a problem with exercising raw power. That's why you have it. But Biden went on to say, I don't believe the people of this nation will stand for it. President Trump has already made it clear this is about power, pure and simple. And it is. But think about this. He says he doesn't think the nation will stand for it. Is that a threat? Because it sure sounds like it, especially coming off of something some of these other Democrats said, talking about taking it to the street. But I keep hearing this thing about, well, we need to wait and let the people speak. Well, let me just remind you, ladies and gentlemen, the people have already spoken twice extremely clearly. Go back to because there's 2 entities that have the power or jointly to put a Supreme Court nominee forward and ultimately on the Supreme Court. One is the president, who appoints that person or who nominates that person, and the other is the advice and consent of the Senate who confirms it. So let me take you back to 2016. President Trump made it a big deal about the Supreme Court, did he not? Did he not make it one of the focal points of his election? Their polling shows that might have been the biggest issue that pushed him over the top. He literally came out with a list, which he has now, and he's already said he's going to appoint a woman. I don't like the whole idea of putting targets on it, but I think it's the right way to go politically and everything else. But President Trump made it a central part of his election. And what happened? He got elected, period. End of story. So they elected him. Then fast forward to the blue wave of 2018. What was most significant beyond the House taking it? I give them all due credit there. Nancy Pelosi, y'all brought it upon us by ignorance and apathy. Let her rise to power again. But what else happened during that election? In 2018, the Senate Republicans increased, let me back that up, increased their majority in the U.S. Senate. So the 2 entities that have the power over Supreme Court justice nomination and confirmation were voted on twice to increase, to first elect Donald Trump and to increase the Senate majority. So the people have spoken twice. And let me just put it straight up. If the Senate, now I have every faith that, Donald Trump is going to put somebody forward. If the Senate, for whatever reason, either doesn't take it up or, in fact, denies whoever President Trump puts forward, it will be a betrayal of every single thing they campaigned on. And I predict that you will have potentially President Trump win and the Senate go away to the Democrats. It would be a betrayal, period. End of story on that. Now, I'm saying that raw power. I'm all for it, man, because I know for a fact the Democrats would do the same thing. And I would say they have the power to do that. Keep in mind this thing they keep hearing about what happened with Merrick Garland. But if you go back and look at it, what Mitch McConnell was very specific. He said that he's not going to take it up when you have a president of one party and the Senate of another. And it would be a total colossal waste of time to do that. So Mitch McConnell was right in that. This is a very different situation. You don't have to like it. It's just a fact. Sometimes facts aren't pleasant. All right, we're going to move along to a Breitbart story. Let me check my time. We're doing pretty good. Michael Moore. He's like the sage of the left, right? Michael Moore calls on Americans to get out in the streets over SCOTUS pick, be ruthless. How much more ruthless can they be, like out in Portland where they just went up and shot a dude for wearing something that might be supportive of Trump, even though it wasn't even a MAGA hat? I mean, so how much more ruthless can they be? To me, this is a direct threat. And if you don't think it is, just listen to what Mr. Moore is saying. Moore said, he was on MSNBC or one of those shows, we're going to stop any effort on the part of Trump McConnell, the Republicans, to try and ram through some right-wing judge. And literally it's going to be in the days before the majority of Americans show up to throw Trump out of office. First of all, it isn't ramming it through. There is plenty of time to do this, especially if you take into the account after the election. Now, I don't think that the Republicans nor Trump should wait till after the election. They need to vote on it before, and I'll get into the reasons why in just a minute. But this idea that they would be ramming it through, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was nominated and confirmed in about the same amount of time, actually a little bit less if you take into when her death was actually announced, than what they're proposing, than we have between now and the election. So, there definitely is a way to do it. Now, here's something, and Ted Cruz talked about this. Ted Cruz talked about the seat on Hannity the other night after the news came out about Miss Ginsburg. He gave her a lot of praise. He really did. He was very cordial to her serving on the Supreme Court. Maybe more than I would be, but he was very cordial. But he also made a very cogent case for why they need to do it before the election. Because the Democrats, and Moore's doing it right now, have told you that they are at war with MAGA. They are at war with anybody who's not a progressive leftist. They're at war with America first. They're obviously at war with President Trump. And Michael Moore has said, take it to the streets. Remember something Hillary Clinton said. I'm going to play this right now, and it plays into, and Cruz actually mentioned it in his commentary. This is Hillary Clinton a couple of weeks ago telling what Joe Biden should or should not do when it comes to when he should concede the election. Check it out.
Clip of Hillary Clinton. We'll play it for our audience, discuss it on the other side.
They have a couple of scenarios that they're looking toward. One is messing up absentee balloting so that they then get maybe a narrow advantage in the Electoral College on Election Day. Joe Biden should not concede under any circumstances because I think this is going to drag out, and eventually I do believe he will win if we don't give an inch and if we are as focused.
That's good enough. Should not concede under any circumstances. By any, what if Trump wins a majority of the Electoral College, gets the 270 he needs? Biden shouldn't concede. Take them. I keep telling you, take these progressives at their word. They are not going to concede this election if Donald Trump wins. It could ultimately go before the Supreme Court, and that's what Ted Cruz was talking about. And if we have a 4-4, I don't trust Roberts at all. I don't assume that Roberts is 4-4. It could be 7-3. No, I get my math wrong. 5-3, right? And Roberts could easily side with the left. He's done it before. So it is vital to take the Democrats at their word, and that they are going to challenge this election no matter what. We must have a conservative constitutional Supreme Court judge in place when that happens, and it needs to happen before the election because there is no guarantee that Donald Trump is going to win. I brought this up to you on Friday. Check out our podcast. Go directly to John Martin Talks Facebook page. Like it, share it with us. Check out our YouTube channel. We need more subscribers and views there. Please spell it all the way out. John Martin Talks. Already told you about America's Voice News. But on Friday, I told you about a story that happened in Pennsylvania and held up by the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, designed to steal the election from Donald Trump, which basically meant that what they essentially ruled was that the mail-in ballots could go forward with no postmark, no time certain, and they could be counted up to, I think it was 3 days after the election, and no signature verification required. And I told you how they're setting that up to steal the election. Now, just over the weekend, we hear that Michigan, the state of Michigan now, their Supreme Court has gone even further and basically says that the votes can be counted mail-in 2 weeks after, as long as they're postmarked by the 2nd, I believe, of November. But the big thing there is that they allow ballot harvesting, where they allow third-party individuals to collect absentee ballots. Both that decision in Pennsylvania and that decision in Michigan are designed specifically for the Democrats to steal the election. If Donald Trump were to lose by hook or crook, both Michigan and Pennsylvania, he cannot win. He has to win at least one of those states, I believe, unless he has some kind of overwhelming, which is possible. Stolen from him, then at least we have the legacy of the Supreme Court. So all of that, I say all of that to say they absolutely must do this before the election. Need to be in front of the local offices of the states. If it is, you might as well go home if you want peaceful protest, because that's not. That is what Michael Moore is calling for. And here's the bottom about it as well, almost like they're giving an excuse not to support the president's nominee, and that is the threat of that they're threatening. If you give in, if you allow this nation to give in to the threat of violence, and that is what dictates our policy and our action, it's over. It's over. So this thing is much bigger than Donald Trump. I've been telling you that for a while. This is about the U.S. Constitution, a battle for the soul of this nation. We must man the political ramparts right now to man the real ones again. take Antifa and Black Lives Matter. They've already proven this without a shadow of a doubt, and they're communist Marxist organizations. What would they in her best interest? Not the country's best interest, her best interest. That's why she more wants. All right, on with this article. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Sunday did not rule out the possibility of impeaching President Trump if he tries to push through a to replace. Probably not practical. So they can be sworn in before the election. It will take the wind out of the sails of one. I mean, come on, man. More about that more, and we can get this judge passed, confirmed, and on the court before the election, or certainly let alone the president, before the election, they're even consider that is just lunacy. Yet they are considering. But Pelosi said, seat, man. Fill the seat, period. And I'm not saying it's not true, but supposedly Miss Ginsburg said, I will not be, her wish would be, I will not be replaced until a new president is in. Honor someone you care about that has passed away, to honor someone's legacy, someone's life, whether it's your mother, father. Impeachment was never about a crime for Dems, Scalise tweeted, referring to the Democrats' impeachment of Trump. He's never, has he said, they only care about one thing, their own power, and they'll stop it. No doubt. She says here, none of us have any interest in shutting down the government. Yeah, they do. That has such a harmful and painful impact on so many people. So I would hope that we can just proceed with that, she said. When there is some enthusiasm, she said, among some exuberance on the left to say, let's use that, but we're not going to be shutting down the government. But impeachment is on the table. thousands of items factory direct delivered to your door. After that, it's $10 a month. You can cancel at any time. A portion of the proceeds go here to John Martin Talks. I'm not going to hide it.